Feeling a bit lethargic? That's a sign for you to keep going. Now, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that feeling of sluggishness is not a sign to stop and possibly take a nap. No, instead, take a walk. Clean out that closet you've been thinking to get to but haven't, and those New Year's resolutions, we're still on them. Go over your list and work on them one by one. If you've hit a roadblock, not to worry, just keep going. Hi there, I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for joining us on Jamaica Magazine. We have a lot lined up for you, so please stay with us.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, January 10, 2023. The island is a step closer to removing the shift system and overcrowding in the nation's schools. This as the National Education Trust, NET, will begin expansion work on several schools in the year. In a release, NET says it will establish closer ties with donors and other stakeholders to accomplish the targets being set and to address unmet needs within the education sector. Institutions identified for expansion include Exchange All-Age, as well as Bridgeport, Cedric Titus, Albert Town, and Homewood Technical High Schools. Meanwhile, work at the Black River High School will be completed this year. Pre-construction works on several other schools will also be undertaken. And work on some 60 schools is now being prepared. According to the National Education Trust, project proposals have been submitted for infrastructure development at the early childhood level. Additional works for water harvesting, sanitation, school buses, books, computers, and educational manipulatives are also being advanced within the year. In the meantime, the Ministry of Education and Youth says it has begun the implementation of recommendations preferred by the Education Transformation Commission. The initiatives are part of the 54-point Reform of Education in Jamaica report. Among them are developing an education philosophy, reforming the funding model for primary and secondary schools to improve equity, and reviewing the Education Act and regulations. Other key areas recommended for reform include curriculum governance, administration leadership, legislation, early childhood education, teaching curriculum and teacher training, tertiary education, infrastructure and technology. Portfolio Minister Favour Williams says the initiatives are to establish a comprehensive strategy to improve student performance and educational productivity across the sector.
We are committed to continuing engaging in dialogue with our school communities, our key stakeholders, and the wider public through a variety of communication channels to get support for the continuing transformation of the education sector. The focus has been and will continue to be on implementing the recommendations of the Jamaica Education Transformation Committee.
The Ministry of Agriculture will collaborate with the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce to increase the level of international protection for Jamaican coffee. Agriculture Minister Pernell Charles Jr. says the partnership will be critical in the restructuring of product labeling to indicate geographical origin to include where the coffee was grown, such as parish and farm. This will be streamlined into the Farm Registration and Tracking System known as FRATS. Minister Charles Jr. says once those are completed, it will allow for the creation of a new traceability and accountability system.
JACRA is developing the coffee industry business model, which seeks to identify and address product diversification and markets, investment opportunities, and to also identify the new technologies and practices. JACRA is also targeting a rapid expansion in both blue and high mountain coffee that will be supported by nurseries and input resources.
Minister Charles Jr. was speaking at the launch of the Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee Festival on Monday at Devon House in Kingston. He asserts that the goal is to expand coffee output for the mutual advantage of all stakeholders, including growers, those who sell the coffee, and consumers. And finally, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, is spearheading a series of activities for Earthquake Awareness Week 2023 from January 8 to 14. They will be held under the theme, Drop, Cover, Hold. Earthquake readiness is within your control. The observance will see ODPEM heightening its public education campaign to increase awareness about the ever-present natural threat. Activities for the week include an earthquake awareness exhibition to be held at parish libraries across the island on January 11 to promote earthquake safety and knowledge among students of all ages. Earthquake Awareness Day for businesses will take place on January 12, and local entities are being encouraged to conduct drills. On January 13, the ODPEM, in collaboration with the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation, will engage citizens in a live outside broadcast. This is to encourage persons to participate in an all-island drill scheduled for that day. A fact sheet issued by the ODPEM says that Jamaica's geographic location along the northern margin of the Caribbean plate and the presence of an active fault line makes the country vulnerable to earthquakes. With the constant threat of seismic activity, citizens are being urged to take the necessary precautions and arm themselves with knowledge and information about earthquakes. For more information, persons may contact the ODPEM at 876-906-9674-5 or send an email to odpem@cwjamaica.com. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
– 2022 was a bountiful year for the agriculture and fisheries sectors in Jamaica.
I feel excited to be one of the recipients.
The time for harvest is at hand. Catch the Ministry of Agriculture Year in Review inside Jamaica Magazine on January 11, 2023.
Here now is a roundup of all the latest happenings coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister outlined some key plans for the new year, calls for partnership to address mental health crisis among Jamaicans, and hails the late Ambassador Richard Burnell. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Vanessa Silvera. Prime Minister Andrew Holness ushered in a new year with a message which highlighted government's plans for 2023. Among them, a reduction in violent crimes and an increase in public order and safety.
This year, a clear message will be sent to violence producers that law enforcement and the criminal justice system is not a revolving door. Criminals will begin to understand that we are changing the risk-reward dynamic of crime in Jamaica. The probability of being caught is great. The penalty for crimes is high, and the opportunities and loopholes to escape justice are being closed.
And with the enforcement of the new Firearms Act, Mr. Holness made a special appeal to the youth.
I want to take this opportunity to appeal to our young men who are both the perpetrators of gun crime and the victims of gun crimes to turn away from guns. Avoid persons who you know have guns or have dealings with guns. The probability of being arrested and taken out of society for at least 15 years is increasing daily.
Prime Minister Holness added that other amendments were to come on the books. They include increasing the penalty for murder to over 30 years, bringing the new Bail Act to Parliament, and making amendments to the Corrections, Fingerprint and Enhanced Security Measures bills. The Prime Minister also used his New Year's Day message to encourage Jamaicans to pay closer attention to their mental health.
Find someone to talk to. We Jamaicans tend to think of ourselves as tough, talawa, able to take on and defeat challenges greater than ourselves. However, over time, this tough attitude has led to an ineffective response to personal and social trauma in our lives.
Mr. Holness echoed a similar message at the annual Heal the Family, Heal the Nation National Day of Prayer event at the National Arena in Kingston. He revealed that government was pursuing a deliberate and robust approach to addressing what he termed a mental health crisis among Jamaicans. This approach, he said, will involve the church, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and other stakeholders.
We need to start a public education campaign, not just from the government, not just from the Ministry of Health, but also from our churches and other organizations and entities, to get our Jamaicans to change this culture of not trying to seek help when they are in crisis.
In other news, the capability of the police to issue electronic tickets will more than double with the arrival of e-ticketing devices in the next few weeks.
Under this new system, warrants will be issued in a seamless and timely manner. Traffic violators will no longer be able to ignore tickets they have accumulated and continue to drive recklessly without consequences.
Prime Minister Holness says the new Road Traffic Act, which comes into effect on February 1, will go a far way in bringing order to the nation's roads.
Motorists are encouraged to address their outstanding tickets at the courts before the new law takes effect.
Mr. Holness has also announced plans to introduce garbage separation legislation. The move, he says, is aimed at changing the culture of waste management on the island.
The ultimate transformation of our municipal waste system requires behavior change on the part of our citizens. Litterers and polluters must pay.
In the meantime, he says the administration is far advanced with the development of a business case for an integrated waste management solution. And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed deep sadness at Wednesday's sudden passing of Ambassador Richard Bernal. Prime Minister Holness said the Order of Jamaica recipient gave committed service to the country while elevating the island's status and relations with bilateral and hemispheric partners. The noted economist and ambassador served as Jamaica's ambassador to the United States of America, permanent representative to the Organization of American States, a member of the board of directors of the Inter-American Development Bank, chief trade negotiator for the Caribbean community, and lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona. Prime Minister Holness says Dr. Bernal represented the people of Jamaica with honor, dignity, and professionalism. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister. I'm Vanessa Silvera.
The travel file application was created by the Transport Authority for the protection of the commuting public. Please download the travel file application on the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. Once you download the application, put in your phone number, register the application under your phone number, and then you'll be able to verify the license plate that you're going in. Once you verify the license plate and the information of the vehicle, you will then be able to share that trip of the vehicle that you're in. And if there is difficulty on the trip, you will be able to push a panic button and share your location with others as well. Download the application, give us our feedback at customerservice@ta.org.jm. Don't forget, it's free to download, free to use.
From numerous direct flights to major investments in tourism workers, the Ministry of Tourism was busy all year working to improve the industry. Here now is a roundup of some of the major feats of the ministry in 2022.
The sand, sea, and the sun seekers came in droves in 2022. Dotted lines were signed to welcome direct flights into the music capital and the second city from Connecticut, Belgium, Netherlands, the Dominican Republic, Italy, and as far as the Middle East. The northeastern section of the island joined in on the activities with non-stop flights from Turks and Caicos and Miami, lowering their airfares at the Ian Fleming International Airport. The cruise industry also made an impressive addition to the arrival numbers. This rebound in air and sea travel led to monumental moments for the industry. over 2 million stopover arrivals, and earnings clocking in at over $3.7 billion US.
If we intended to maintain any semblance of the momentum, and you know we always do, we can safely say that well before 2024, we will have 4.5 million visitors and we will earn $4.7 billion US for Jamaica.
Investment efforts in the people behind the industry were reinforced in 2022. A tourism workers' pension scheme was launched, and for newcomers to the industry, the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation (JCTI) database was developed to connect them to potential employees. The JCTI also launched a new certification program for professionals in the industry and trained over 1,700 hospitality workers. 3,609 Jamaicans secured employment through a cruise industry recruitment drive, while 90% of workers in the industry were re-engaged in full-time employment in the accommodation subsector and 70% in the attraction subsector following the pandemic fallout.
We are committed to producing a competitive and productive workforce that can take advantage of possibilities in the tourism and hospitality business.
Our tourism stakeholders pulled out some construction tools and signed off on a $70 million contract to remodel the Devon House courtyard. Developments continued over in St. James with the groundbreaking for 2 multi-million US dollar resorts. Those hoping for a view of Kingston's waterfront can opt for the newly opened 12-story Rock Hotel. The tourist town of Negril got its very own red, green, and yellow gateway signage to pull in more visitors.
We are satisfied that notwithstanding the COVID disruptions, the investment climate in Jamaica remains strong and buoyant, and the appetite to invest in Jamaica is very strong. The summer that has just ended is the largest and best summer that Jamaica's tourism has ever seen.
A standing ovation is quite fitting for 2022's landing by the Ministry of Tourism.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Looking for a smart business opportunity? You may want to consider the art that is apiculture, or beekeeping if you will. Here now is a breakdown on how you can get in on this buzzing enterprise.
Apiculture is an art and it's a science. And it's an art and science of managing bees. So everything that we do in the hive, everything that is happening in the hive is very scientific. And as beekeepers, we craft the way how we manage the bees. So every beekeeper that you speak to, they will have a different approach to different aspects of beekeeping.
Given that the importation of honey into Jamaica is restricted, you can only imagine what big business beekeeping is for our farmers. They have expanded from just providing honey for citizens and have moved on to creating many different byproducts. But have you ever wondered how you can get involved and have your share of the sweetness?
For you to be a beekeeper, you have to develop certain comfort in dealing with this thing, which is not a maybe when you're a beekeeper in Jamaica. It is a must. So every time you get a sting, it becomes irritating to you. But then because we love what we're doing, we don't pay much attention to the irritating part. We're more focused on what we're doing, and we know that at the end of the day we're going to get honey. And when we get honey, we can convert that to money. So for us in St. Thomas, from time to time, we have projects. And quite a few of the persons in St. Thomas who are beekeepers, they start out benefiting from projects that would have beekeeping components. So training is critical, because then you have to know how to navigate your way through an environment that is challenging to allow you to harvest honey and to make a livelihood from beekeeping. I would advise anybody who would like to make their own box to purchase a box to start with, or you borrow a properly made box, because the bees are very scientific. They're very specific in terms of the design of the space that they occupy. And if you make a mistake and where you're supposed to have 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, you put 1/2 inch, or you put less than 1/4 inch, then you're going to have problem as a beekeeper. So a beekeeper has to be knowledgeable about what is normal in the hive. So I tell people that when you come into the apiary, there's a normal sound. And if you listen, you hear a hum. When I hear that as a beekeeper, I know that they're finding food out there. They're finding nectar, they're finding pollen, and so on, when I hear this hum. When you go into the hive, there are many things in there that you have to observe. Right? You have to observe the condition of the comb, whether the combs are, I always say, old and crystallized, because once they get old and crystallized, you want to get rid of those combs. You want to look at the color of the brood. When we say the brood, we're talking about from the larval stage now to when they get to the pupal stage. You want to observe that, because there's a normal way that they should look, and there's an abnormal way when something is going wrong that they would look differently. You want to observe the queen and the condition of the queen as expressed in the amount of eggs that are laid, as expressed by the amount of seal brood that you see. Right? In the bee yard, you want to be observant of everything. I usually tell trainees that when you come into the bee yard or into the apiary, you have to look around at the trees and the shrubs around, because there might be a swarm that is lingering. That swarm might have taken place in your absence, might even be the very morning before you come to the apiary. You have to observe and see if any of that is there, because if you let that swarm escape, then you're looking at some dollars and some of your profitability that is going down the drain. You want to be able to have a bee yard that is not necessarily sterile, but clean enough that if you have dead bees around, you can see them on the ground. If you have bees that have been affected by the varroa mite and they are suffering from viral attack, there's a virus that they call the wing curl virus. Those bees, when they reach the age and the stage to fly, they cannot fly because the wings are deformed. And so those bees, you will see them crawling on the ground, and they will crawl around on the ground until ants get them or until they die.
That's just the bare bones of what you need to learn about beekeeping. Do more research to increase your knowledge. But as you do, ask yourself this: am I registered with the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA?
It is of great importance for a farmer to become registered or get registered with RADA, because indirectly they assist us in making national plans. For example, when we are doing our national plan, knowing the demographics of the farmer, where they are, the type of production that they do, it allows us to pinpoint as to what projects or programs can be implemented. And also, if we should have disaster, diseases, we know where the concentration of farmers are located. Or once you come to the RADA office, you can either speak with myself, the livestock officer, or the extension officer, and we'll provide you basic information on what is needed, how you go about it. We also give you the other linkages, such as the apiculture unit at borders, that you can contact for other information. We also do assessment. We assist you in doing site assessments of your apiaries and also kind of hold your hand in terms of getting started. And if we have projects or programs and we can have you on that project or program, we also put you there. The advice that I give to beekeepers is to do your production in a manner that has a business-like approach. From my observation, many beekeepers think that having the bees they're just there. They don't really take the time out to assess their apiaries. Mr. McNish mentioned about sanitation. They don't really look at that. So I say just manage your apiary, monitor your hives, keep your proper record so that you can have a good production.
In our 60th year, we will be fully institutionalizing our national identification system. What I can tell you is that I am working assiduously within the boundaries of the bureaucracy of government to try and make changes happen.
On Emancipation Day, Madam Speaker, we will see the return of the float and street parade.
The government was on the move in 2022, unlocking new milestones, new achievements, and new opportunities for growth. Catch these highlights and more in our Year in Review right here on this station.
Do you own land and need a title? Well, the National Land Agency NLA can help. Through the systematic land registration process, the NLA will assist residents to get titles in declared project areas across Jamaica. Systematic land registration is the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area known as systematic adjudication area. For further information on the systematic land registration process, including declared systematic adjudication areas, who can apply and the benefits, visit the National Land Agency's website at www.nla.gov.jm or email asknla@nla.gov.jm. The National Land Agency, one agency, one goal.
We've come to the end of another magazine program. We encourage you to log on to our website at jis.gov.jm for all the latest happenings in government. Until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.